All right, everyone. Bernie Sanders would like you to blame private corporations for the cost of healthcare in the United States. According to him, the billionaire class is just greedy. Money is their religion. Basically, orange man bad, fundamentally. It's funny because, the Democrats have the backing of a lot of billionaires. In fact, most of them at this point, look, George Soros and the Koch brothers are teamed up at this point with regards to far-left internet censorship, so there's really no difference at this point anyway. Trump's the only one pretty much not taking the corporate money. To his benefit, Sanders isn't either, although at the same time I'm sure part of him wishes that he had, considering his donation total is down so much over 2016, and he's running in third place in the race, but that be as it is. He wants you to blame private corporations for the problem. Let me just put it this way, though. There's a discrepancy between the ability of the average American to pay for things and how much they would have to pay to obtain some sorts of care. Certain surgical procedures, medical devices, pills, things like that. There's a discrepancy there. There's a discrepancy that the free market should never have created. So there's a mystery here. How did it create it? The answer is simple. There's no free market. Here's what happens. The government has created a system, bureaucratically strangulated through the FDA, etc., in which it is impossible for any small-time competitor to actually compete with a big pharma company to provide a medicine, to provide an innovative new procedure, a medical device or something. It's impossible. What happens is that if you magically get the backing of a billionaire, let's say some billionaire philanthropist says, well, your medicine idea is good. I think that this pill will cure cancer or something, which will never happen. They'd never greenlight a cure, only treatment. I think that your medical device, your surgical procedure, whatever, is a good idea. So we're going to create a lab and start testing. And you start testing and you find out that it works, at least according to your animal studies or your theoretical design or whatever. You go to the FDA and you say, well, I've got this idea for a pill that can cure diabetes with a single dose. The FDA is going to turn you down. The FDA then is going to inform GlaxoSmithKline, hey, they've got a really good idea. You might want to send an agent over there. And they'll buy you out. You'll make money. I mean, it's not like they're going to screw you over. They'll give you money, maybe even hire you at GlaxoSmithKline, but you're not going to be developing it because then you would compete with GlaxoSmithKline. And so it's a monopoly. Or really, it's a trust. What's happened is that the government has created a de facto medical trust between a handful of insurers on one end, a handful of pharma companies on the other, and a handful of administrative systems that handle most of the medical apparatus, number three, and it's all overseen by government. It's a socialized healthcare system already. It just happens to be kind of privatized in some aspects. But those privatized aspects are inherently more expensive. The government keeps throwing free money at them. What happens in the healthcare system is the same as what's happened with education. It's like with colleges. The government got the bright idea, hey, let's get more disadvantaged people to get degrees. We'll give money to these colleges to let in lower income students, under merit, like they get good grades and stuff, they can go there. They'll be able to afford things. And the idea was that they wouldn't have to bust ass working 2 full-time jobs while studying, and they could get ahead more easily. You could take people who were qualified and get them into the positions you needed them to be in. They wouldn't have to take part-time courses and wait 4 or 5 extra years to join the private economy. It was good for the economy, on paper. The problem is, what happened is that the grant money goes to the college. The college says, hey, we've got all this money, we've got these students in here, it doesn't matter whether they pass or fail, we've already been paid. We're going to build a new stadium. I mean, we're flush, we've got all this extra money to administer these courses and stuff. Why don't we splurge a little bit? The government's paying for it. Essentially, in a roundabout way, we'll build another football stadium. We'll build more elaborate sidewalks. We'll host a gay pride event. We'll expand the women's studies hall. We'll have a second Holocaust studies building or something. And so they basically took a bunch of feel-good electives and human sort of resources, meditation rooms and shit like smoking lounges, and they build that in stadiums. And stupid shit like that, or repainting the dorms instead of focusing on the basic core courses that we need in our economy. And so the students that were poor, they're still paying through the nose. Look at me. I supposedly, I get all this aid, like need-based aid, merit-based aid and stuff. I still ended up shelling out huge amounts of money. The total amount that I paid is what I would have paid anyway. If the merit aid and stuff had gone away, the college wouldn't have built the extra stadium, wouldn't have built the extra women's studies hall, and the cost would have been proportionally lower. Problem solved. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, government grants and subsidies with no strings attached have never worked. That's what the healthcare system gets. So the government creates the problem, and now it's offering you a pig in a poke style solution. The same government that ruined our healthcare system, because our healthcare system and educational system in the 40s and 50s, world renowned, perfect, affordable for anyone who wasn't dirt poor. It was great. For the average American in the 1950s, you could work part-time during the summer and pay your tuition at a college. You could work at the burger joint and you could pay for your college. Tell me what fundamental reason is there that that's not still the case? What fundamental reason is it that's responsible? It's government. It's not greed. It's not corporations. It was the war on poverty waged by the government that rose prices, that caused prices to skyrocket because the government took cash from taxpayers, people's money, by the way, making them more poor in the process, took their money, gave it to private edifices with usually no strings attached. They raised prices accordingly. There you go. Still screws the poor. In fact, it screws the poor way more than before. Before, if you were fairly intelligent in the 50s, you could get into a college and you could afford to pay your way through it. No debt whatsoever. No problem. You could afford that. You can't do that anymore. Even the Democrats have had to admit, yeah, by the way, that is actually true when it's claimed. The baby boomers had it really, really easy. Gen Xers, a little bit harder. Millennials, way harder. Gen Z, I wouldn't even bother going to college at this point. If anyone out there, you're in Gen Z, you're like 17, 18 years old, don't bother. If you're like a straight A student, like you're getting letters from Harvard, okay, go, because you can probably get a hell of a lot of merit aid. And if you go to a tech ed or go to a community college, that's fine. By the way, technical education, what the fuck is wrong with that? You know, some of those jobs pay 60, 70 grand to start with 2 years training. Get certified as an electrician. You'll have a job. Don't worry, you might have to relocate, but don't worry, you won't have problems paying the bills. You go and get some liberal arts degree for your college, you get 50, 60 grand worth of debt. Where are you going to work? Target? Walmart? McDonald's? I count myself as extremely lucky that I dropped out and became self-employed. But the thing is, I could have easily failed. If it weren't for the 2016 election, yeah, I'd probably still be not particularly well off, to tell the truth. It's because I can make political predictions and edit books and stuff. I count myself as lucky. Most millennials don't have that advantage. It's the reason why I don't look down on the poor like some of the fucking neocons do. But, I mean, this is not the way to overhaul the healthcare system, making it non-privatized. No, we need more privatization. Get rid of the government grants. Ironically, odd as though it may sound, taking the grants and subsidies away would actually solve the problem. It would force them to compete in a free market. Get the regulation off the back of smaller time entrepreneurs and small businesses so they can compete with the monopolies. The same is true of tech. Stop giving subsidies to Silicon Valley monopolies, and these smaller firms all along the United States and elsewhere will grow by default. They will grow, and the tech firms will hold back on some of their worst behavior because then they'll want more subsidies. They'll want it, then they'll have to justify that. They'll have to act like public platforms again. Get rid of this. Threaten to get rid of tech company subsidies. Threaten to smash apart the pharma companies. But the problem is, here's the problem. The government's run by these people. They donate billions of dollars every year in campaign funds because of Citizens United, which is why the Democrats aren't saying jack shit about Citizens United. Have you noticed that the single biggest cause of political corruption and all of the problems in the country identified both by a Trump populist or a Bernie Sanders fan socialist, the biggest fundamental reason for all of those problems they perceive isn't even a campaign issue within either of these parties? Have you noticed that? It's a reason for that. That's about all. Peace out.